Hey folks, Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into it, I know this is a rough day, so I don't want to not acknowledge that. And there are a lot of conversations that need to be had, but my job right now is to try to be as entertaining and distracting as possible. Have I got great entertainment distraction waiting for you? But I have to pay my bills, and it's so awesome because one of the people paying my bills is here tonight. But before we get into that, guys, remember, if you like what we do here, please support us by picking up the Big Stompy Robots book or the Simple Sword, both available through Amazon, link in the little ticker below, or join the amazing Patreon group where we get to chat and talk about everything that's coming, and they're going to get the videos. And, do I have things in the works? But, guys, something's more important than me tonight. I've got something more important than me tonight. We are joined by a guest. So let me see if I can get this. I think she may be the first guest I've actually scheduled on this program. Literally, they usually come knocking at my door like Mr. McFeely. But we're joined by Cindy Cat. Yay! Okay, guys, yes, there are definite shenanigans, and I will be hopping through the chat real quick to catch up. Fortunately, unlike Brian, I'm smart enough to only open up my chat. So there isn't a huge window for people to overwash me. But Joe Bachman ported into the room today. Enters room through portal and back, hits the like button, teleports out. Well, I know so many techno mages. You have to help Cindy. This way. Cindy's over here. I have to tell myself, Cindy is like by Lydia. We can work this out because you can keep it straight. I'm ambidextrous and dyslexic. I don't know which way is left, right, or up. But I forgot to close the portal. See, Joe's been playing Splitgate. I know what he's doing. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. One of these days, I'm going to have Joe pop out from behind this curtain. I really want to start doing shenanigans like that. And speaking of shenanigans, Thesis is in the house. Hey, Thesis. And we have Foxy Shenanigans. Obviously, look, living shenanigans. Some person's dropping a woo. A wild Cindy appears. And Frog G. Yes, Frog G, I have the other most popular plugger in the known interwebs. If I ever had you both on the same episode, I think the internet would explode. But, all right. I know I kind of blazed through that, but we need to. Guys, okay, first off, I probably should talk. Cindy, do you want to tell them who you are? Or do you want me to?
I could do that.
Yes, please do.
I am a science fiction, fantasy, and gamelit writer. I also write teacher resources. One of these things is not like the others. I'm returning one of my books into a comic book miniseries and into a mobile game, and both are still progressing quite nicely. And good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, it'll even become a desktop game eventually.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. Oh, I'm excited. I'm sorry, I'm fanboying over here. Don't mind me. Cindy's one of my favorite people in the universe. And I've got to watch all the success. Go. Plug more. Sorry.
All right. I also run a Patreon page where I am posting scenes of a suitable arrangement, which is the thing I need help with tonight.
Yes.
And the ongoing Proxygean Press series. It started off with Freelance Words and then moved on to Trouble is for the Birds, and now we are finding a home for the manatees.
Yes! Oh, I love manatees. My son Xander has my manatee right now, or else I'd be like, she made this. So I may try to message to get that brought in, but he always steals my manatee when I'm not around. And they're green froggy. All right, so Cindy set this up, and while we're going here, you may notice I'm not using my little camera. I'm not using my new camera because I need to see the screen better than usual. And when I use my new camera, it's on a tripod right in the middle of my monitor to get a decent camera angle. And you guys need to see this. So I will try to see if I can keep everybody here. And that's full screen layout. This is the map. And let's see. There we are. That's the one I was looking for, because folks want to see her. I mean, I could probably just be like, yeah, you don't need to see me, but Cindy's important. Anyway, what Cindy's got here is we're sort of in a round two of a walled city slash minor castle having been invaded. And she sent up this lovely document that, if you're in the Facebook group, you've had a chance to look at. I assume you all did your homework, right? I reminded you last week to do your homework, but nobody did their homework. I know this bunch of people. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's your other line of work. You're totally used to it. But I've been looking at it, and aside from the, I will pathologically twitch that the that North is down.
Sorry, it's how I see it in my brain. I tried to flip it and everything ended up in the wrong corners. Like, no, it's not there. It's over. I'll skip it. We'll just put it the way my brain sees it.
And that's fine. What happened is, because I don't know about you, but when I write, I see it like a movie a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it from the view of the main attacking force, because the main attacking force is a naval force.
Right.
And, oh, this just hits my... I'm an 80s kid, 80s, 90s. That means the A-Team and MacGyver were formative to me. And it's like, you guys have a week before the bad guys get there? Oh, my. So do you want... Oh, yes. Do you want to go through and tell them the backstory?
I can do that.
Or do you want me to read it? Because I've got the document, here, so I don't have to tax my lovely quasi-internet. Like, let's have a breakdown from the boss. And hello, Ogre. I'm going to do this. Pay attention, everybody, because this material will be repeated at the end of the course. Oh, boy. Okay, so go on. Me.
All right. So what we're doing is I'm writing the sequel to Lines of Succession. This is no longer in print. The publisher took it out of print. It's only available as ebook now. I asked if we could please put it back in print so I could take it to shows, and they tell me the files are corrupt. Darn it. So I'm doing the sequel on my Patreon, and I have drafted the entire thing from start to finish, but I'm not happy with this penultimate battle. I think the attackers would have to be freaking idiots, and the defenders are way too lucky. Things just fall right into place, and I'm not happy with that. But east of the map, there are foothills that are terraced into farmland and become mountains where there's an outpost that's no longer occupied, but it is not in range to be of any use to the city. To the south, there's a forest. To the west, it's farmland that gets really rocky the further west you go. Oh, that says east. That should say west. Never mind. To the north, that's all coastline. It's very rocky, but it's not unapproachable. The city's name is Cullinan. It was a walled city on the northern coast of the country. It was overrun by a superior force who knocked the gates down with cannon fire from their ships, and they also breached the southwest corner where there was a postern gate. The gap in the back wall is about 30 feet wide and 15 feet to either side of the breach. The walls are still kind of wiggly. It's a technologically Renaissance era, so they've got cannons and muskets and black powder pistols and swords and bows and axes, which are more like a tomahawk than a gigantinormous fantasy battle axe. There are griffins and there are griffin riders. The griffin riders use javelins when they're airborne. And of course, the griffins have their own happy little attack modes. Presently, the gates have been reestablished, the front gates anyway. The back wall breach is still there. The baronial manor has been mostly rebuilt. The Eyrie, which is a griffin house, has been rebuilt, and the church has been rebuilt. Everything else is a tent city. The attackers have 6 caravels that have cannons on board. And there are 6 more ships, 5 caravels, and a galleon that are currently stationed further west. They can come back to the east to help out in the attack if necessary. The attackers have very well-trained troops and leaders. They have 6 squadrons of 12 griffins each. archers, infantry. The attackers outnumber the defenders 5-1. Launching griffins off the boat is not feasible because the sails are in the way. So they have to land somewhere or at least stop and drop all their sails before they can launch any griffins. There is a cove to the east where in the current draft I have them stopping long enough to offload their griffins. So the griffins are coming in from the east, but that is not set in stone. The defenders have a handful of cannons of various sizes with inexperienced crews. They have 2 to 3 people out of the 12-person crew who are experienced. Everybody else is inexperienced in following directions. They have access to 2 mangonels, which are sort of like miniature catapults. Those are hanging out at the outpost. They can be brought in by griffins, if necessary. There's a pile and piles of construction debris and what's left of the breached walls that can be used as mangonel fodder or anything else they need it for. They do have archers, but limited arrow supply. Most of their troops are untrained peasantry with makeshift armor and weapons. They do have a few dozen very, very much older people who were trained in the older techniques like pike core, including the mangonels. The younger folk have not ever seen the mangonels and wouldn't know what to do with them. Corby, a country to the east of Colonine, sent some help. They're an ally. They managed to whittle down the attacking force's numbers. They originally were starting with 18 ships, about half galleons, half caravels. They managed to knock it down to 12. The Allies also sent 4 squadrons of griffins, three of which are well trained in the area and the tactics of the country that they're in. The other one doesn't even speak the language, but their commanding officers are bilingual. The defenders have 8 trained leaders. 2 of them were sent from the ally, and they know the enemy's tactics. One is a tactical wizard. 3 of the leaders have handicaps. 2 of them have vision issues. One of them is half blind, and the other one has no peripheral vision on one side and can't read without a magnifier. The third one has epilepsy. A prophet warned that 2 of the leaders need to be together in the same place for the final battle, which is not this one, but prophecy is also repetition, so it could happen here too. 4 of the leaders are trained in how to do combat from griffins, but one of those, his griffin, is so old that it would not survive going into combat maneuvers. The defenders do have reinforcements coming. They have a fleet of ships coming around from their western coast, but they won't get there until at least day 2. They have about a week to get set up, and they do have griffins available. You can think of griffins as being an extremely clever parrot crossed with a very large, well-trained dog. They're about the size of a draft horse with beak, wings, and talons. Female griffins are bigger and stronger. Males are smaller and faster. In the end, all the leaders need to survive with Elena and Piotr ready to do the last battle. It says Casey in my notes. That's wrong. Colony can't be destroyed again. And the attackers can either be eliminated or sent packing. Either one will do. A multiple-month siege is not going to work for the pacing of the book. So, that's what I got.
All righty. I've had fun with this one because the first thing I got after flipping through, because I've flipped through this a couple times, and a couple of the errors you mentioned make more sense when I'm like, okay, that is an error. But from what I'm getting, a lot of this battle has to happen long before they get to the walled city. Now, we've got some great stuff coming up in the comments, and I agree with a lot of what's already peppering its way through. So I'm going to bring the good ones up. Well, not the good ones. You get what I mean. Let's see. First off, I want to put... Wait. I do... There's been some humor about... No, please tell me it's it's multiple choice. Oh, no, a test. Better study hard, folks. Yes, strategy is part of the Historical Fencing Guild. We do during the winter, one of the things we do is strategy-style gaming. and modified, often low magic D&D type things or modern setting RPGs to keep the mind flexible. So this is really right my bailiwick. Um, but Ogre gets bonus points for the north is at the bottom because down is toward the enemy. I love that. I absolutely love that. It makes my day. Now, some person replied, because there's some greetings, but we're going to skip the greetings because while they're important to the greeted people. Solution: dig a big deep hole, fill it with oil inside, open doors as they're about to run in, and stumble in hole, light it up. Now, I love this, but what I love it is the wall breach. The first thing I'm seeing that wall breach is you could spend a lot of time trying to properly brace that wall when you've got 15 on either side that's going to fall anyway. Mm-hmm. Or you could spend very little time making it look like you tried to brace that wall and then thoroughly trapping right behind the wall. So, that is very, very late in that is the type of defense you hope you don't have to get to, but it's there. Mm-hmm. Now, mount up. Yes. No, sorry. I love that because the next part is I'm going to scroll through you guys' comments and then I'm going to get to where I'm going. Ogre. I love my buddy Ogre is talking about griffins. Sorry, just my world is a beautiful place. Air superiority will be a serious issue.
Yes. And there's the attackers outnumber.
Are griffins nocturnally capable?
Capable, yes.
Comfortable.
They're crepuscular creatures, so they prefer the twilights, but they can operate in both as long as they have enough light to. Say if it's a gibbous or a full moon, they'll be okay. If it's a new moon, they're out of luck.
Okay, so that's going to be one that's really important for you to decide for how that gets deployed. Now, this will not be spoilers because I do want to make sure everybody understands Syndicap is under no obligation nor expectation to use anything we do. She may use some or all. She may use none of it. She may trash both the ideas she had before this and whatever we hand her. And folks, that's okay. So don't think you're getting spoilers per se. You're going to have to read the book. And when it's available, I'm going to plug the heck out of the book because I will have the means. I mean, what? Brian K. Morris has not given me power. I mean, what? No, anyway. Frog G says 5-1 target-rich environment. And we're going to get there. We are going to get there. And howdy, y'all. What are the attackers?
I do use that in my current draft. I do use that because that wall breach is only about 30 feet across, and the week before, they spend the time starting to rebuild that gap, and they only get it about halfway, and then they build a palisade across the top. Well, that doesn't hold, so that all collapses, but that leaves a much narrower opening. So when the bad guys try to come through, they set up they've got the older crew back there, the old folks who know the old techniques, and so one of them suggests let's set up for horse. There are no horses. There was a horse plague, wiped out the horses. But they take all the spears and javelins they can find, set up the pike maneuver set for horse, and they just take out bad guys as they whittle through that little gap.
Right. That's going to be a wonderful. What you need is full force multipliers. Okay, they don't need the build. Okay, what are the attackers' motives? They're trying to take the thing, but they want to use it as a stronghold themselves as much as possible. So they're trying from what I take it, they're not trying to completely bulldoze it. They just want to wipe out all the people.
Right. They want to establish a foothold there so that they can attack further inland into the country and attack the allied country next door. So that's right on the border.
So this is very much a risk we're taking over to seize this landmark, and then we'll rebuild it, but they're trying not to break it. That's going to limit their attack a bit. This is still dicey. Numbers are good, but it's likely to just then drop. Yeah, see, but they don't want to just drop everything. And the thing about griffins, because I've talked to her about aerial griffin combat, griffins are very glass cannons because to be bird-like, you're dealing with hollow bones. You're dealing with a lot of strength, but a lot of fragility. So you got to be careful with that. So the griffins are almost the last thing I'm going to really poke at, because she's handed us a present. Looking at it from the defenders, and I always start with the defenders because that's always, a defender with time is more interesting. Uh, it's hard being nearsighted and kind of having it move nowadays, but there is a second sight to this battle that delights me, because the coast up, and I'm not sure how far it is from the castle, is rocky but not unapproachable, so it's inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that they're going to go to the nice, convenient looking cove to basically weigh anchor, get your griffins, do a deployment for a pincer, and then come in.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I would do, as you have a tactical genius here, and this is lit up like a Christmas tree in my mind, is sending whoever your best, get a bunch of carpenters and stuff. You're going to want to hit the forest to harvest for wooden spikes. And phase one will require some timing, because you're going to have to go to that cove at low tide and hammer spikes and nastiness that will all be covered by the water.
Okay, so create a reef.
Create a reef, possibly do further traps inland. Because by having it Renaissance era and gunpowder is available, what they really are set up for is to have, in my way I'm looking at it, more explosives than people to run them properly. And if you don't have enough people to do the job properly, why waste what could be doing something else useful there? So step one would be probably setting that area up to be, rigged for explosives. I'm trying to use terms that won't get me in trouble with YouTube.
Right.
But, they have jars and things that fragment when broken. You can do the math.
Mm-hmm.
So a heavy band of trapping needs to be there. The other thing is it needs to, again, the wooden spikes are going to be vital. You're going to want to porcupine not just internal spears, but things to slow the infantry approach. And this is where a lot of it depends on how merciless your defenders are, because you could use punji pit techniques a la the Vietnam War, and they're much older, where you have tiger traps, and the spikes have been put in manure to ensure it's festering wounds and stuff, because this has to be, it's like a mini war of attrition. But the invaders, are they aware of the reinforcements coming for the defenders?
No.
Okay.
No, they don't know about the Western Fleet coming in.
Are the defenders aware of the invaders' kind of secondaries?
No, that was a surprise to them. They expected an attack against the wall breach, but they thought it would come from troops landing on the coast and moving in. They did not expect a Western attack.
Okay.
And there are reasons for that, because the attackers have taken over an area they weren't supposed to be in hold of. Okay.
So a lot of it is going to be you have to buy time. And I like the oil, and I like the oil trap, but I'm not sure I like the oil traps just at that breach. Strategic ditches with oil that can be lit concentrically as you fall back. The defense of this place shouldn't be at the door.
Okay.
They need to fight. It's the only way to deal with a 5-to-1 advantage. And this is totally without dealing with aerial combat. Aerial combat, I've got some ideas too, because it's biological aerial combat and it's technically fairly slow. in that it's not you're not dealing with powered vehicles who can come in and out real fast.
Right.
So a lot of it's partially burnt. There's lots of ropes on hand. So I would think, and let me make sure nothing's coming on because I'm speaking a lot. Oh, see, I knew there was a comment dump. I could smell it. Okay. Greetings. Moats, fill them with something nasty. Force a bottleneck and pick them off with archers and pikemen. Yeah, it's how I was talking about manure. Yep. Suggest sewage filled with broken glass so enemies. Yeah. All these are freebie things that you can use with the sharpened rubble from. I mean, if a church has been rebuilt, there's broken windows. Right. There's got to be lots of broken glass around that can be carefully hard and put. It needs to cost on every level, and whatever there has to be points of shock and awe. That's where something like explosives are delightful. You don't have to have 200, but if 3 of your barrels that are out there below, they're going to be worried about every barrel they walk by.
Mm-hmm.
So you set up a few real threats scattered out, and then a few, the mock ones, so they don't know. Because it's all about, because if they know when it's coming, it's all about time. Time. Slow them down, make them think about it. Because I was looking at this, and having a forest off there, and having how long would it take roughly for them to go between there's an old outpost.
Mm-hmm.
East of the map, so it's too far to be of use, right?
Right, yeah, it's out of range, so even firing the mangonel, the shots wouldn't land.
That's fine.
They can bring mangonels in, which is how I ran the draft.
Right. I love the bring the mangonels in, because those are just going to be useful. I mean, that's standard bombardment goodies, especially, again, with the idea of bombarding and then exploding, make people unhappy. But you could take a few of the people who are the least mobile, so that, I mean, and I'm not talking, you have the people who will be useful mentally and able to do stuff, and then there are people who, the peasants who are also physically, they're untrained and injured enough that they can't do a lot.
Right.
Send them to the outpost, because at a key point they can light up some torches, possibly pull a rig that makes old armor stands pop up.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you got to do psyops. You can't win. If this is done fair and both sides are intelligent at all, it really should be a bombard bloodbath. But since it has to be quick and they know it, they have to do confusing things. So while that's all going, that gets set up. And wait, it's another great thing to have. If it's dark will save the defenders at night, at least from Griffin issues.
Mm-hmm.
Seaside fog is another thing that could Deus Ex Machina to be very useful. Because like I said, this is not going to be a fair fight. Having the access to the forest, how far is the forest from the town?
Less than a football field length. In fact, that's one of the complaints of the tactical wizard, is that the previous Baron had not done a good job of clearing the space around the walls, and so that forest is far too close for his liking.
That is both terrible, but since it's there, because what you have is a shell game in part.
Mm-hmm.
and you have everybody looking at the matrix. Everybody's looking at the red dress, and obviously the queen having the manor rebuilt is probably not a wise allocation. This tells you the mentality. At least to me, looking at this, I'm like, she's building the manor.
Yeah. So she's comfy. You're right.
Yes.
She's not living out of a pavilion. Right.
And she doesn't likely strike me as the type with the good sense to leave.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. If she's going to be bait, and she's going to force our hands. Now, let me see if anyone else is getting this. Oh, we got another great comment dump. So there'll be a bunch of questions. And Ogre mentions this would make a great war game setup. It killed me not to be able to have the time to. I was looking at my poster board going, can I build this? If I had more details, I could build this. We could run this. I have a game system perfect for this called Melee. But actually, the first game I ever made and published. But so I'm going to go through their comments, and there's some really great questions.
Okay.
So or at least commentary. One or two questions. Bonk. So the attackers have numbers, but have one hand tied up. Exactly. Mm-hmm. This is limited warfare for them. So that's something. It wouldn't make it. Can the wizard cast illusions? I don't believe there was no magic. But the wizard can't cast illusions, but old Unky Nick can, which is why we're setting up, because there are no reinforcements coming from the east on the ground, but we want them to think there are. So a couple trumpets, a couple horns, some armor stands rigged on ropes to pull up, and a whole lot of ignitable things to backlight that. Mm-hmm. Should really draw and make any commander much more nervous looking that way. Lots of light, lots of noise. You have lots of light, lots of noise in the town right before the oily smoke starts up.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you're going to want oily smoke to mess with the griffins who are coming in.
Yeah, that's one of the suggestions that Elena, one of the people who's familiar with the enemy tactics, they end up back there in that corner and they get attacked by griffins. They don't have any griffin defense. And so one of the things she asks the Mangonel crews is, do we have anything that you can chuck into the air that would stay aerial? Like dust, smoke, something. And
see, this is where we get into the delightful wheat chaff would be a wonderful thing. Flour is highly explosive when compressed, or when distributed into the air, it is flammable. Mm-hmm. Things like that, launched airborne, could be, again, a wonderful way to mix it. I have to admit, depending on how well you knew the prevailing winds, if you wanted to be diabolical, throwing some poison ivy or local equivalent into the burning oil to ensure that you're going to cause respiratory illness and immediate damage, possibly the equivalent of hot peppers, get some capsaicin up in the air.
Yeah.
I totally would pepper spray, an oncoming griffin, because it seems like a good idea at the time. So, that, and again, if you're doing that to the substances that are out there. These are all things you could have the little old ladies, carefully grinding, the dried pepper into powders and, doing things like that. Let me see whatever other comments. Okay.
If you superheat chili flakes, it'll make you hack a lung up for a while.
Oh, absolutely. I may be growing peppers right now that I intend to dehydrate to make my own spices. So I've been actively looking into this very thing. That's why it's fresh on my mind. Would the attackers use griffins to buy crafts? I don't think they're strong enough to drop troops in.
They might be able to carry a second rider. The females could anyway. The males, out of luck. The females could probably carry a second rider who could jump into there if they could get past the cannon fire and the archers.
So now that would be really cool for either side to use as deployable shock troopers. Basically Griffin-based ODSTs. I am here for that. And if you have a good assassin or ex-assassin laying around, you could tactically drop into the enemy forces from behind. That would be delightful too. I see, guys. I'm so proud to have you here. So I'm thinking soaking the ground before the breach, so it's dangerously sticky and slippery. That is excellent. Caltrops on approach vectors again. Excellent. Bolos flung into the air as a means of dealing with the griffins. Tangle nets. Creative use of fishing hooks. Yes, it's horrific, but war is horror. Maybe cut. Okay, that's an interesting. Maybe cut wood as much as possible so the enemy has limited siege engine capacity. That would make sense if it were a long-term situation. Mm-hmm. If it were a long-term situation, that's burning the crops to make sure they have nothing to forage for.
Right.
And that's why, but they only have to hold for a couple days. Although we're going to get back to the woods. You notice I talked about the woods, but I didn't talk about the woods. The woods and I are good friends. I like the woods. You can probably guess that my chess strategy relies heavily on the knights. And the right shock and awe drop troops on either side would be devastating. And my goal is to give as many pieces to Cindy so that she can come back to this video and go, what was he talking about? Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm not taking notes, because I'm going to go back and listen to this and start writing ideas down.
Right. Let it sink in first. You can transcribe later. Let's see. I'm sorry. Frog G, I love you. Obtain your defense material now at Bloodbath and Beyond. Oh, God.
That's fabulous.
That is fabulous. And I realize I've been a DM so long, defending a castle or fortification from oncoming threats is just my natural, yes, you said this and this and this. And it's so I don't have to give them, leniency, because you can make things easier for them or have something go wrong on either side anytime you need to that's dramatically appropriate.
Right.
Not a fair fight. Yeah, we're going to fight dirtier than them. Preach! I teach short people and women how to fight taller, more aggressive people. It's almost like this is what we're about. Oh, God, that's the terrible thing. Okay, well, we lost. We got another comment. Wow! Okay! Good comment dump. This is good. We got like 20 comments just popped up. Bloodbath and Beyond, that's wonderful. If this were any other show, I'd be adding that to the merch list. But okay, on the defenders' side, surprise attack against the invaders' griffins while grounded can even things up. That's what I was working at. I was treating it very D-Day-ish for the Cove, because if they can't get in the air, they can't. You've defeated the threat before it's a problem.
So have the griffins from the defender side ready to attack the Cove as soon as they see the attacking fleet starting to make land.
Yep, as soon as they're at that sweet vulnerable, because they're going to get tangled up on those fake reefs, then you can hit them, and you don't even have to defeat them. Tangle them up and, use some equivalent of the razor nets with the capsation and, use the nasty tricks we've talked and deploy it on them. You don't even have to kill their griffins if their griffins are coughing and bloody and can't see straight. All you have to do is knock them out of the fight. and or just set their boats on fire, tra la la, hit it and quit it, because you're not going to be staying there. You don't want the Griffins to stay there.
Right.
And you want the Griffins to very obviously fly toward the castle, but we're not going to have them stop there. No, 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 no. I like my pincer movements, and I like people to think it's going to be straight. So we have a couple options with that. Would somebody, because I'm kind of taxing my internet as is right now, you can find this on the Historical Fencing Guild public link, where you can, and you'll get a little picture, because I totally didn't highlight and start thinking about her happy little map, and the full write-out that she gave us there, because this is just an amazing setup. If they had dwarves, they'd fix that wall in a day.
Yeah.
I still don't think you want to fix that wall. I think you'd do better to use rubble and stuff to make a secondary lower wall, so that when they're bottlenecked, you have cover to fire from with, whatever you have. And defend your defenders. You also want to make an exit. This is again me. If everything goes wrong, you don't want the people to be stuck there. You have two possible fallbacks. You have the outpost, which is what they would expect you to run to, especially with it lit up looking. You can make a heck of a fort in a week in dense forest, especially if no one's looking for it. So having an established position out of sight that maybe your reserves are going to be waiting in, because your enemy's set up to be very predictable, and we like predictable enemies. We really like predictable enemies. It is so nice when they announce and say they're coming over.
Well, it helps that they have two people who are familiar with the enemy tactics, and the enemy is very superstitious, and so whoever's in charge of that battle is going to want to repeat a previous success. And so if they know who that incoming leader is, and they can tell from the heraldry, then they have a pretty narrow field of guesses about how they're going to attack.
That's even more delightful. A very superstitious enemy fits well with the prop up, because then we can add, with a little bit of smoke, a little bit of fog, and if somebody can speak the language, perhaps having someone placed who can call out to the enemy in their language, go back, they took us, and reference the fallen from the first battle. You might be able to really mess with some heads, because again, psyops is going to be your friend when you're underpowered. Frog G says, chop some trees, lay them down, to direct the approach of the enemy. If they choose to go over them, it will slow them down. Also, logs burn. Logs can burn, and logs can look much more stable than they are. Yes, you want to route them. You want to delay them. You want to make sure that they are in comfortable fields of fire for your archers and for your mangonels. So you want to bottleneck them at points where you can then hammer them when they get there. And then what you do is give them the choice of a road that's a little winding, but will get them there, and one that's under heavy fire, and then you trap the heck out of the road that's winding about 2/3 of the way down. And if you happen to, say, have archers in the woods with, again, wooden palisades that could be propped up to fire from, now you have them in that bottleneck. I told you I'd start getting to the woods. As soon as the enemy starts getting to the woods can come to the enemy. There are ways, because In my early years, I worked several strange jobs. I was a chimney sweep. This is why I know just how flammable creosote is. And I also did some light lumberjacking. I felled a lot of trees, and if you know what you're doing, you can all but fall a tree. Make sure everything's clear, and then drop it for safety. So you could have the entire, a whole row of trees come crashing down, not only making squish, but suddenly providing, say, the people behind it who have erected some kind of simple earthen embankment. And if it's not pretty, you can do even a Mott and Bailey kind of castle, fort style, very quickly. Digging is your friend as an infantryman. And if you're in a wooded area, the people who are in the woods, if it's relatively dense, and I am assuming a relatively dense forest,
Yes.
That's going to really make it harder for the griffins to interfere.
Mm-hmm.
So you really want the griffins to go only after the targets they can, which become the targets you want them to, because that's where the aerial equivalent of the traps is. That's where your net throwing mangonels and bola throwers. And remember, even the most untrained Renaissance or medieval peasant can probably make a sling go, and can make a archery go. And you said there's a shortage of arrows, but there's lots of rock. So either you convert some crude crossbows, which I'll try to find you the link. You can actually make a crude crossbow in a matter of an hour.
Oh wow!
I mean, like they were really popular in battles, not unlike this, where in an hour, if you know what you're doing, or a couple hours, you can make crude crossbows, and it doesn't take much to make them into a stone thrower bow, where instead of knocking an arrow, you widen the V, and you have a little pouch like you would for a sling.
So it becomes a sort of arbalist.
Yes, exactly. And I will try to find you. It's out of Todd's workshop. He showed how to make the simplest crossbow ever. That was almost easier to make than a survival bow, to give you a perspective.
Wow.
And these things were found, and they're they're crude and they're short range, but they're longer range than other things. Mm-hmm. And you can also use modified atlatl chuckers to throw rocks much farther. So as long as you've got at least one crazy engineer somewhere in your character list, and I would be shocked if you did it, because I know you too well, and or an old, yeah, exactly, an old guy who knows things. And especially if you could get like the young nutty guy and the old guy who knows things to sit around talking about this while the important people talk. All this screwball stuff can happen real fast with very little resource management of who you have to set everything up.
Okay.
Ogre says, perhaps after this book is successful, right, because it will be, a game could be a nice direction for the franchise. Oh no, not a strategy game based on her world. Oh no. Hi.
Could totally do that.
Okay, whoops. I'm getting a little lag. There we go. So you meant a tactical wizard is ingenious.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I see how you got the point. No, but I do love the idea of a tactical wizard who's like, my magic missile is maximized, click bang. And, I'm all for that too, but no. Maybe build a fake fort for the enemy to attack. I'm using movie stuff here. They already know the area. That's why I was taking the outpost earlier on in the discussion. How far behind was that? Oh, not about 15 minutes. And setting it up like that's been done. Because if they send even, a portion of their forces elsewhere, you have less people to deal with right now. And when they come back, you can deal with them when they come back. or leave something really nasty like blow the whole thing, you know, because that's going to add what's called shock and awe. And that also gives you a chance for whoever's defending to shout out, "You won't get this." And blow that like, think about your life, think about your choices. Because, if you see an exploding tower take out, say, maybe even a quarter of your griffins and land forces that are moving, go send those guys to check what that is. Boom! Oh, okay. You either out sneaky, out dirty, or out crazy your enemy when you're too small. So, I like, again, see, now we've got set a contingent of auxiliaries to set up hundreds of small campfires to the east, make them very. That's what I was talking about. That whole thing. Yeah, you can do snow job. You do that. Have them run out. They see a string of smoke from the advancing army that isn't there. Yes, mess with them.
Well, it helps that the Allied force, or the Allies who sent the Griffin teams, is in the east, is east of this city. So that would be a very credible bluff that Corby has sent additional reinforcements over the mountain.
And see, by setting that, if there's anybody else out there, that's a good signal fire, essentially, that, Gondor is, the beacons have been lit, Ogres just burn the forest down. That's later. That's the next step. See, use it and then lose it, and burn it while you leave. But I kind of wanted to use the forest as, now see, I may be handing a plan that building it, I know what I know of the narrative, this plan won't work. But it's what a smart tactician would do, is distract everybody to the east, engage the enemy in the west. The north is pretty much forsaken, depending on how close it is to the water. You just be under cannon bombardment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cannon fire both directions.
So making sure you have an exit route of some sort through the forest that you can then deploy countermeasures. It would be I know you don't want this. I know this is how you want. But this is what we're going to set up anyway so that we can get out alive. And if you do not wish to get out alive, that is your option. But, having something like that's how I'm rotating it. Oh, also set some brutally tortured corpses along the road they travel. Any dead body is a resource. Anything that looks like a dead body is a resource. Wow. And I'm sitting here going, could you take a haystack and make fake griffins? Could you build a fake area of landed griffins that up close to you wouldn't tell, but from overhead would look like large, throw some blankets over them. You could, again, that's the mess with their heads, make them think you have more than you do. See, that's what we're all about. Okay, I'm gonna skip. Well, he suggests blood eagle bodies. It's a bit gory, so I'm not going to go quite into there because that's not usually. Sydney's books usually don't favor the gory side, as I recall. So we're gonna not quite go there. Yes. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, my computer had to block part of my screen to notify me that I am streaming.
Important.
Oh, yes. Poison supply train that is abandoned. Poison supplies left out. If you have rotten ones or something that could pass, that's a great idea. Again, that's a little more longer term. They're only holding out till their reinforcements come in 2 days. So I like it, but I don't know if that's would be prioritized. But it's good, Froggy. Now, if this were a longer siege scenario, all sorts of shady things
Mm-hmm.
would come into play. Are the woods full of Ents?
No, sadly.
No,
But they
but
could be full of something else.
they could be, and it wouldn't take much to make scary woods look like they're scarier. Again, when you're dealing with Renaissance era technology and that level of superstition, one or two reflective objects in the right shaped tree,
Mm,
and then somebody, the woods will rise to stop you. You know, there's a lot of bluffing that could be done.
yeah, put wood flutes in the trees so they catch the wind, and
Oh yeah, because what you want to do, and because there's one night, it's 2 days, so there's at least one night in this conflict, and that night, especially if you have the right prankster character could have so much fun. Why is he asleep? He's supposed to be, but the battle's going on. He does his part later. Let him sleep, and then he or she then goes out, sneaks around, doesn't try to sneak into the camp and kill people. You won't get that close.
mm-hmm.
But is running different things like that. And again, if there's a puppeteer in town, if there's a puppeteer in town who can talk about how to work a marionette or whatever, amazing things could happen in the right setting. Because I figure your big guns, at least one of the mangonels, are going to be northbound, just blasting away, exchanging fire.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you're going to take any earthen embankments you have, anything to the rubble that's too big for small weapons use. You got small weapons use, stuff you drop on people's heads from the walls. And then you have like actual structural rubble that you're reinforcing at least the north wall, because it's just going to get battered from the ships offshore. There's not a lot you can do about that.
Right.
The blind guy at night could have fun too, because the idea of him going, well, no, you can't see. I can't see anyway. And I do love the idea of a griffin flying in pitch black, being ridden by a blind guy because they're both listening their way to the enemy, and then dropping something flammable or whatever onto the ships. This is another one of those. I live for these little moments in a conflict when you see it. The Legolas sliding down the stairs on the side. These are the moments for me that make it fun.
Well, and Elena is the one who's blind, and her griffin is black and tan.
Oh God!
It's black with tan speckles. So yeah, it's a fairly dark griffin.
I love the idea.
Griffin was crazy.
I love the idea of a blind girl and her Griffin Guinness. And I'm sorry, that's what came to my mind when you said black and tan. Like just flying out black of the moon and raining explosives down, or whatever, onto the ship. Possibly the quiet chemical stuff, that we were talking about, because then they wouldn't have any light to fire on. Where is this coming from?
Right. Yeah.
You like I said, stuff like that, or just flying over, dropping something that's incredibly flammable but not obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So they just think it's raining. Until like a little later, then the first arrow that comes sailing at them lights them up. That's how you're going to get the change. I would think in both the strategic and keeping it where your main characters are surviving by doing cool things. Mm-hmm. They're not surviving by just huddling in the dark, and it gives you a chance for any of them can be involved in any of these sub things as their heroic moment in the conflict.
Mm-hmm. That could work.
And that, it's so much fun because like my writer brain and my tactics brain are just like, they're playing patty cake over here. Oh, or some irritating fairies attack anybody like bees. No, because I haven't heard anything about fairies, but bees are very viable, and that's another delight. That could be a fun thing to do. Drop a bag. That's another great thing the blind girl on the Black Griffin could do is drop a sack of hornets. I mean, and things like that are. Oh god, here it comes. There's another comment dump. Let's see how bad it is. Oh my goodness. Okay, I thought everybody was listening. No, they were not. Okay, let's go. Wow. Okay, still. Oh, I'm still scrolling up. This is delightful. Wow. Okay. Yeah, tactical lizard, fake fort, forced fire, tortured, poison supply. Okay, there we go. There's an old thesis says there's an old Chinese that's basic play of burying what is basically abandoned landmines over an abandoned supply of weapons. Yeah, that's a great time if you have any gold in town. If you have any attractant that would be of value, make it look like a wagon tipped over at a key point, and just sprinkle that around. And then explosives. Maybe somebody's good at catching snakes. A lot of things like that would be useful. And we've got some great diversions. And smoke in places is going to be great diversions. If they had dwarves, the wall wouldn't have been breached. That's true, too.
Also true, yeah.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm not much help with siege stuff. You don't have to. Just laugh. Think of it as a very, very serious sequel to Home Alone. Okay. Let yourself just revel in the absurdity, Frog G's citing Sun Tzu. When you are strong, appear weak. When you are weak, appear strong. Hey, that has kept me alive more times than I can. Is the enemy another stream of people like us? The only thing I can think is the enemy is the Fire Nation, because that's what I keep picturing in my mind.
That's not far wrong, actually.
Excellent.
It wasn't deliberate, but it wasn't far wrong.
Take away the bending and just keep the tech, and you get the Fire Nation, and that's great. That is a terrifying prospect for them. Okay, like I trust my chat. We got runners and gunners in my chat. Thank you very much. Foxy, I'm ready. Foxy's, I know how to make very, very, very spicy honey. That's what we're gonna say that word. It's very spicy honey. Yes, you're not the only one. I found the spicy honey recipe in a cookbook many years ago. Yeah, and yes, spicy honey smells like victory. Woo, woo. Okay, I'm having a blast. I really needed this today. I'm not great with sieges either, Foxy, but you and I have made some amazing formations for Boffer, and there's going to need to be people like that. As great as all this is, it will eventually come down to holding the castle, and you have to expect the breach. The trick is you make sure that they breach it where it looks like it benefits them the most, and you're prepared for it there. Now, that can go delightfully wrong, and then you have to have somebody improvise or scramble, or this is where buff tough dude, pops two swords and goes, I am the wall, and just starts stacking their bodies. You got to have a bit of that too. The big guys need their love too. Because there's a point where the little guys have done their shady stuff and mouthed right out of town, and the big guys just kind of have to, why, yes, I have a splitting maul. No, it's not for wood. If someone can get the enemy ahead of time and sabotage, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Just but supply wagon.
But they're coming by ship. That's why we're hitting the cove so hard. Because right now we have 2-ish battle areas with lots of unpleasantness connecting them. And, if your griffins aren't in the town, but it looks like they are when the enemy flies over the first time, because they got to do reconnaissance. That's the only way to use a griffin, I would think, is at some point your fastest one flies in, because they can't just whip out their little cell phone and be like, yes, we're flying over right now. I'm in Griffin Copter 1, and we see that the enemy is deployed here and here. No, they got to send somebody who's got a really good memory to look around, scout, and then go back. That's the only way to do it. So that's where things like your fake griffins and, okay, there's 2 working mangonels and so many cannons. A mangonel, guys, it's a catapult, just like when you think of a catapult. Rope torsion, pull back, it's a catapult. That is not hard to mock up. Make them think, fly over that there's 16 griffins laying there in wait, and they're keeping them down to, hide. Have your real griffins, in a clearing in the woods a little ways. And then go engage, and then they have the height. Because with griffin to griffin combat, air superiority has a lot to do with elevation superiority from our discussions. So have them getting set to do their sneaky dive bomb. It's dawn, and right as they're going to do the dive bomb on there's all the huddled people around fires, and there's no people. It's just rubble with like cloaks over it, Then the real griffins hit them from on top, coming from the woods or, halfway to the outpost, boink, so that your defenders aren't where defenders should be, and your enemy is where you want them to be. Let's see. Okay. If someone can't... Okay, there we are. Why do I feeling that I am the crazy engineer? I will tell you a horrible secret. Almost all my friends are crazy engineers. They're just different kinds. Let's see. And yeah, sinking the ships before they arrive is good.
You nailed a third of the fleet already.
So that's already been kind of deployed.
Yeah, they couldn't hit the entire thing, so they couldn't mobilize fast enough. But the enemy crossed through the northern coastline of Corby, and each of the Corbish provinces sent their entire fleet out and picked off the stragglers, and that's why the enemy only has 1 galleon that made it through.
Wow. Froggy, find your sneakiest people, have them infiltrate the enemy's camp, and steal all their left crews. Now, see, it's funny, but this is brilliant. This is a story that I have from something that I did not attend, but it's a story I'm borrowing. The SCA has something called the Penzic War. Mm-hmm. And a gentleman of my acquaintance was in the Mid-Realms Army, and they set up literal armies full of reenactors, and they have SCA legal battles, and they have a happy war, and they have 2 camps. And they guard their camps all happy and stuff. And they post their guards and all this. But the gentleman I knew was in the Israeli Special Forces before he became an American. And what he did is he snuck all the way in to the king's encampment of the other army and left a glass raspberry on his throne because he wanted to raspberry him. Right, right past armed guards, litanies of people, in and out just to mess with him. There's always one person who's shady like that. And yeah, don't steal all the shoes. And don't even try to kill people, because if you try to people, you'll get caught. But doing something shady that we could have got you will have more psychological damaging. Because if you kill the commander, you may become a martyr. That's problematic right before the battle. You don't want to motivate them. You want to demotivate them. You want a demotivational poster. So, having somebody sneak in and, write so and so was here, or I could take you anytime I want, you know, and then just show up the next morning like, here, what's this? Boink, Commander's lapel pin. I love the messages, stole it just because I could.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, and see, that's because that's not just great. It's great writing. It's great reading. And it's funny because I don't know her characters other than a slight read over, but there's some I get a feel for. And there's an old guy who, hot take, one of my favorite movies ever was The Postman. I loved The Postman. It was a great movie with, God, I lost his name. Kevin Costner. I kept trying to say Kevin Bacon, and I'm like, no. But in The Postman, there's a part where he's got all the young new writers who are going to help him rebuild the post office. And there's one old dude. He's like, can you ride? No. Can you run? No. Why are you here? And he rolls up his sleeve, and there's a faded out tattoo of an Asian woman. And he says, I got this little lady in a town called Saigon. I know things. And I know somehow that archetype is here. I can feel him growling in the background and possibly smelling like whiskey. This is glorious, and I'm here for it. So, like, you've got different types of shady. Sink all the ships but one. Take out that crew. Keep the ships for yourself. Possibly doing something shady at the Cove to go back for an infiltration kind of thing could be fun. That's not bad.
Because the defenders don't have any boats except for the reinforcements coming off the west coast. So if they could catch one of the caravels and then man it with their own and still fly the enemy flag colors, then they might be able to get close enough to do something unfortunate to the enemy.
Oh, that's delightful. And yes, Joe Bachman's like, keep their flag up and sail back. So they start attacking the ships as they come. That becomes you have a neat trick you can only do once. So you got to make sure you're in the right place to do it. So, moving right in close to formation and doing a full broadside with a fairly heroic but tragically disposable character. I've been a writer too long. My DM senses are coming out again. What? That's the heroic, lovable NPC who will die for the party. What? No. Okay, let's see what else. We've got, since the Griffins can't get up without stopping the ship, ships are vulnerable along with the Griffins. They drop a small container of flaming Greek oil. Yeah, a lot of it's preventative. I like that. Oh,
that's fabulous, especially if one path up is rigged with oil so that everybody falls off, and the other path is all glued up.
Yeah, like pine tar, pitch, things like that. See, what are you thinking? You don't get this? Yes, like I said, as soon as I said Home Alone, your mind it started to unpuzzle. Drop a ton of glue, watch them lose their shoes. Yes. And then they can't move while you shoot at them. This is good. And the thing about, pine tar and pitch being parts of the tree is it's highly flammable. So, yeah, Just burning the sails would do a lot. Yep.
Mhm.
Surprise attacks on the soldiers at night on the outer border of the camps go all guerrilla warfare.
That's
Surprise
right.
attack, surprise noises. Because if you can keep them up all night, they can't function. If you can send somebody sneaky, and it has been done historically, again, if you have a really sneaky fellow who could drop some laxative into the water or food supply, and this has historically been done, uh, you can greatly impede their ability to do anything other than, yell a lot and poo. or slippery, or slippery parts glue on parts. Watch the chaos. Yeah, it doesn't have to be evenly distributed. Just
Right.
for Crom. Okay, that must have been the moment of the big guys need to hold the breach at some point. Yeah. Ooh, okay. One dead body dressed as a high-ranking member of Defender's Army in a place that can be found by attackers. Secret documents found on the body that make them prepare for an attack on a one slash, and then it stops on a different direction. That's yep.
So
Okay, now.
misleading false attack orders.
Oh yes. Make sure you have at least one person who don't have a problem yelling Leroy Jenkins and go rushing into their front line ahead of everybody else. He'll either die instantly or cause confusion. Well, you got to have the motivational moron, because at some point you got to have somebody crazy enough to say, "I've had enough of this sneaky stuff." How did he survive? He's too dumb to die. And Frog G said, "That's a bold strategy, Joe. Let's see how that plays out." Do they have helium? No, I don't believe they have helium, and they haven't. She hasn't said anything about hot air having been developed as a means of travel. Although fun could be had with somebody understanding enough to put a hot air balloon up, even if it's just to get somebody to have a better viewpoint and or mess with the enemy. There's going to be a lot of what the heck is that thing? Oh, we don't know, sir. It can see us. Yes, sir. Extra fun if Crazy Sniper Girl is up there going, "Yes, I can." I need line of sight. I'll get you line of sight.
There is, one of the trained leaders is a highly skilled archer, and so getting her away airborne where she could take a pot shot.
Yeah. And the whole take the pot shot and then come zipping down the tie off rope before you catch fire. Again, it's that scene where I'm seeing it as a single awesome frame where she's already shot the person with the biggest hat. I'm done. Whee! God, it is. Brian K. Morris is going to be ashamed he missed this one, and I'm going to poke fun at him about it. Let's see, Foxy. Okay, find something that glows like eyes, attach them to the balloons, and let them drift over the enemy. That's going to distract the heck out of the Griffins too. I mean,
what the heck?
Well, you got to figure, and I hate to put it this way because I don't want to speak ill of a beautiful, majestic, mythological creature, but it's bird and it's cat. If you put something shiny moving somewhere it shouldn't, depending on the training of any given Griffin, that's going to be problematic. They're going to want to know what that is.
I could see like a candle-powered lantern, like a paper lantern, and stick a candle under that so that the hot air lifts the kite on the top. And if the prevailing winds are headed the right way.
Absolutely. We had another comment dump. This is great. Fire eye balloons, nice idea. See, Foxy, you're doing great. Give rats, frogs, small bowls of something flammable on their back and release them at the enemy like the buggers and leave. Oh, see, now we're getting, and it's okay. Do oh wait. I have to skip some person's groundhogs. Yes, Foxy, croak havoc and let slip the frogs of war. Oh, that's beautiful. Ribbit. Okay. Some person says train groundhogs to burrow underneath the enemy and detonate. Wow, we are just small animals. You are our ammunition, you know. What'd they do? Well, there were porcupines and hedgehogs, so we threw them in the mangonel and launched. Oh, God. People for the efficient tactical application. You know, wow.
That's fabulous.
No frogs. Thank you. No frogs were harmed in the writing of this chapter. I see you were taking cues from the movie Wanted. Oh, that's a great movie. Balderdash, but a great movie. Captured enemy, allow them to overhear the intel of reinforcements approaching in the middle of the night, allow the enemy to escape. No, see, the problem is there are some reinforcements coming that they don't know about, and I'd rather keep them not from the defender side, not having any idea it's coming. And we do owe the offense some time, as loath as I am to do it. And Jada Empire. Hi, all. Hey, John.
Hey,
oh, hey, John. No, if your story needs the invaders to lose and their commanders isn't needed later in the plot, have the defenders eliminate the enemy commander tactician. That's a great moment, and that's a great character build moment, especially if a little bit of pre-established vindictiveness is there. You know, there's not, people say the big bad evil guy going down is the satisfying part of a good story, and to me it never is. It's when, like, Rochefort, from Three Musketeers, is taken down. It's when the really bad lieutenant guy gets. That's where I usually feel more like that's just, it's good. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the attacking warlord is not in this battle. He's in the last one, but he sends his lieutenants and to handle the attack on Colonnine.
So yeah, that's sad. That could be satisfying though, depending on because you have multiple lieutenants and multiple hero characters. That could be delightful. That would be, that would be a fun one for our sniper friend. Because if our sniper friend could get the sight on that person and make them drop, ooh, and that would allow for some more chaos at the right moment. That's a good, maybe on the dawning of the second day, as the sun went up, so did a balloon. Oh, John says, nope, you're not alone. I'm verified. Hang on, I didn't hear that. I got to rewind a minute. That's okay. Heard of Penzic is pretty cool. Yeah, I should have. Then spread caltrops after the shoe theft. Yeah. Nice, yeah. Okay, I got the bit I missed about one galleon surviving because I know things. Okay, now I can see where we caught up again, which tells me it's not showing a comment dump, but there's a comment dump. Pirate battle!
Yeah, that happens earlier. That happens when Corby is deploying their each province's fleet to take out the stragglers. There's actually a sea battle that happens.
I am going so. And yes, I'm going late tonight because this is too good of a one. But Shady Cove sounds like a location for a Bruce Campbell movie. There's greetings. Who remembers the beginning of the castle battle from the movie Willow?
Nope.
Ogre saying east is better than middle. Wow. Okay. I am no longer speaking, so it is not my place to have a bias, but I probably have a bias. Sadly, the Leroy Jenkins is usually me. I don't do well with waiting for the battle to commence. We'll work on that. We will teach you patience. Oh, wait, okay. Oh, God, I told you it was there. Okay, here we go. John says, send in the Silver Griffins and the Bear Clan. Right idea, wrong book series. And now that song is stuck in my head. John is referencing the Owl Flight series by Mercedes Lackey. What's worse is that also involves, because she and a gentleman by the name of Michael Longcore, also known as Duke Sir Moonwolf Starkonson, and there's a bunch of other things, did a soundtrack actually for that delightful book series through Firebird Music. And the song Send in the Silver Griffins is the greatest commercial ever written. You can find it on YouTube. I'll try to find it. I'm not kidding. It's an amazing commercial. Fill the balloons with angry wasps. See, yeah, I like the deployment of angry wasps. I am all for the beekeeper or these just no, not the bees. When I moved to the little town I live in, and I drove by the dog park, which does not allow dogs, that is listed as a lake but has no lake, though it has a boat in the middle of a gravel thing. They always pile up the wood just like it would be if you were, immolating someone of a religion you don't believe in. At my first year here, I was worried that when the big festival hit, I'd get nominated to be in the Wicker Man. So, yeah, the bees. Well, there we go again. Hold on. Okay. We're out of angry wasps. Will ill-tempered honeybees not as well. Feed geese laxatives and let them Foxy honk honk hem goose. Oh God, the geese might backfire. That's what the laxatives are supposed to do. People for explosive tactical activity. Oh, God.
That's fabulous.
It really is. I am so proud of this group. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord in heaven. I have plenty of patience. I just want to get out there and kill something. Well, maybe you could do it at night, so you could be sneaky about it. We'll figure something out. I live in PA, so I got to support the local monarch. I didn't realize. Wow, I didn't realize you were actually SCA. Cool. We have to talk, because if it turns out I don't know, you're too young to be the ogre I'm thinking of. Even if I never get more than a couple practices every 3 to 5 years. I feel you. I have very little, I joke, I have little issue with the society, but how do I put this? I was forcibly woken from the dream, so I can't go back. But I encourage the people who can to have a great time. I think that's a really good way to put it. Joe, enjoyed the show tonight, but I'll have to get the rest on rerun. I got to get to work in the morning. See y'all next week. See you next week. Oh, John. John's talking house camera. I will always flank it. Kill, 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 kill for the right price. Uh, yeah. Now we're pulling old names from dead times. But all right. It looks like I've caught up with the comments. I think we've completely covered a vast variety of options for your defensive needs.
I think so.
And I hope it was if not beneficial, entertaining for you, Cindy. Yep. Oh, and now the comments are set. Let's see. Oh, I'm. Oh, Okay, I am not that ogre. Thank you. I didn't think you were, and that would have been a high compliment. But no, send in the mercs. Remind me of one battle Foxy and I were buffering for them, and he was just running towards us as soon as we offered him double the gold. I have taken out hits on people for cookies. I mean, not taken out. I have received the contract and performed successfully when I was SCA, complete with the appropriate level of backstab because, well, it was necessary. Also, Lackey is a great writer. Yes, Lackey is a great writer. He immediately turned around toward the other side. Oh, and a muffin. And funnily, his name was Ogre. Yes. All right, guys. Give me a minute here because we're still we're half hour over, and I'm not stopping yet. But we got to talk. She wanted to talk about the offense because she gave me questions. All right, at the very end of this, well, so a few questions. First, you are the attacker. How do you attack the city? Well, we have skipped that question delightfully. Your goal is to wipe out the population, establish a stronghold as a base to attack the rest of the country and the ally. Okay, so we'll get into that. Second, you're the defender. What do you do in the week leading up to attack and get ready for it? And how do you defend the city? Your goal is to repel the enemy and protect the city. I think we've done the second one. Mm-hmm. Really, really in-depth.
A lot of fun ideas.
The first one, see, you've given us the background, and I can see the commander of this conflict doing like you said. There was an existing plan, work the plan, stick to the plan. Mm-hmm. And so, since I don't know the original plan per se, though I can sort of see it, it looks like they do. Hit the cove, right in from the side, hit hard. It looks like a smash and grab kind of style invasion. I hate to put it. Pummel them from the north, flank them from the west. It literally is jab, jab, roundhouse.
Yeah.
And looking at that, wow, because I love how I randomly assign traits to characters I know nothing about. He instantly became that guy, the commander who, like, in his spare time boxes with his guards, mm-hmm. And then gets interrupted for missives. Because this is very much like the tactics are thought, like pop, 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 bam. I can almost see that a very clear but very brutal style, bombarding with the. Just bombard them out of, bombard them into submission. Probably lie and say prisoners won't be hurt. When they surrender, slaughter them. Everybody wins. And that's how you get the least property damage. Mm-hmm. You probably have to put down any griffins they have because I'm pretty sure loyalties wouldn't convert that easy. And it's funny how telling the conflict is because it's such an arrogant approach. It worked last time. We nearly crushed the life out of them. Why would I change? This is going to be over. Like, this is definitely this will be over in a day. Mm-hmm. Genuinely mind blown at last 2 days and caught completely off guard when there are reinforcements after the 2 days. It's like you can almost feel looking at the setup. This guy's going to come completely unraveled. Now, to make it interesting, you need at least a more competent lieutenant who may be undermined during the fight.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Because when things go wrong for the defenders, because we gave the optimum defender, yay! And we really didn't deal much with what happens when they have to fall back inside,
Mm-hmm.
other than trapping it. And the inside would probably be rendered into another fall back, consecutive fallbacks.
Right. Yeah.
Probably falling back to the church because the manor wouldn't let you do what you have to do to prepare. That also gives you the potential for a crypt that underground crypt catacomb that could give them a potential hidden exit as their, well, this is how we're planning to escape, depending on the relationship with the church and how that's all working.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I hate to say it, in its current state, there isn't enough to try to salvage without, it being fully peacetime where you have supplies coming in and you're just rebuilding from the ground up.
Right.
But given the character of the Queen, she cannot see that. It's not there. And looking at this again from the piece I've been given, she's going to have a problem being considered a leader unless she does something really cool and snaps, a cranial analectomy. So, yeah. But other than that, let's see what they're saying. John's saying attack with artillery. There's naval-based artillery. You missed that at the beginning, but yes. If I'm attacking, I raise the whole place from the ground, firebomb from the sky, burning oil, anything I could think of. It's already been partially rebuilt, so it's possible. Yeah, I can see the smarter guy going, there isn't enough there worth trying to save. Let's just
nuke it to the ground and rebuild.
Yeah. and that guy, that would be a great character to survive for the final conflict, to make the final conflict harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because him leaving via one of the ships, why? If we stay, we're dead.
Right.
And just like grabbing the dead guy's hat, oh, Commander, yes, and going, that gives a good feeling there too, because it's really, you have to remember bad guys are characters too, and I know you don't have this problem, but this is for the people watching,
right.
Because I want to talk world building, and this is really, I want to do a whole series that's basically set like this on my other channel. This sort of mentality where I'm talking about how to set up an RPG world. But so thinking from the bad guys are even more survival minded usually. I don't want to say craven, but there's a good thread of that. And that could be interesting. But yeah, you have one guy, just stop. You're making, and I can see him especially during the night of the,
mm-hmm.
between day 1 and day 2. A lot of plot progression happens during that when the fighting officially stops. But I can see him going, why are we doing this? We signal the captains, we blow the rock away, and we rebuild. And then the whole, no, I want to conquer it to prove yada yada. And that gives good conflict, and because that's got to be as much a part of the story. The other neat thing will be the balancing how the bad guys treat their casualties versus how the defenders treat their casualties.
Right.
Because that's going to be a good point to play with. Let's see. And of course, we're getting a bunch of comments. That was my thought. Make fun of the enemy so bad they go home. Vicious mockery. Big B's flipping finger. That's Scanlan's hand. Evil minds think alike. We'll get the we'll get the wittiest citizen and give him a horn.
One of the allied country that sent the 4 Griffin squadrons and the 2 commanders over, they do use a horn to communicate during combat. There are different signals that are blown that indicate either rally to me or charge or retreat, or the whole gamut of different commands. So giving somebody a horn and telling them just blow random stuff.
Oh God! What do you do with a bard here? Toot. Toot what? Anything. So they just our guys know hand sign. They don't. Just dropping. The loudest tavern song you can. I love that. And again, we default to the defensive.
Yeah.
But we had talked about the ODSTs and the shock troops. That would be a great thing for the bad guys to do.
Okay.
As a breaching action, sappers, because you got to figure out, okay, how does it go wrong, and having them drop a few dudes in with the express of planting a explosive, sapping the south wall,
mm-hmm.
and blowing that out, making a secondary breach, would scramble a whole bunch of the internal plans. Possibly one of them being an assassin to go to kill the queen.
Mm-hmm.
That also makes a lot of sense, from the bad guy perspective, and then you have that whole the suspense of during the night while the shady stuff is going, a single enemy agent is dropped in and is making their way, doing other things, again, overhearing what the good guys are up to. And it could look real dicey whether they're caught or not, and whether they actually do any harm to anyone. Lot of tension and drama. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would definitely, the idea of dropping somebody in intrigues me, because the one thing is the bad guys know that, and that's why I keep moving people away. Like, what? No, you don't. You put the griffins in the woods. Put fake griffins in there, because they're gonna know. So control it. Flying monkeys, no. But there are a lot of griffins, and that's the other thing. Just aerial bombardment. Anything we've thought of the griffins, because it's Renaissance era, so the dropped bomb kind of concept, the dropped other thing concept is just, it's there. The drop nets, again, either side just opening bags of broken glass at height over unarmored people, and that's why my bottle has a lid. That would be just devastating. It's just, for me, the attackers, it's so simple. If you're smart, you just bombard. If you have to send people in, you flank and bombard, because they wouldn't expect the kind of resistance that they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
So the change between the most dangerous part would be about halfway through the second day, because I could really see roughly halfway through the second day, them switching from we're trying to save it to fine, we'll raise it to the ground.
Right, and then they really start dropping everything in the universe.
Yeah. That's where it's going to ramp up and get the real desperation. And that ramping up dramatically gives an opportunity for the impact to maybe hit characters like the Queen that it hadn't hit yet,
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're like, I can see the commander going, take it, but leave that man or I want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then deciding, so the Queen's not in any danger, the bullets are just missing. She could be sitting out on watching it happen and sipping tea for all it matters. To suddenly there's a breach in the side and reality just goes whoop, Oh, go! Okay, let's see. So long and thanks for all the fish. Tiny mangrels hidden in the ground tall enough to hit the groin. um, I am all for booby traps. I mean, seriously, get your trappers. There's another song from that thing called Snare and Deadfall, which I, I will try to remember to send you the links to all this goodness, because Snare and Deadfall will hit your soul looking at this and will make you happy. Uh, but not evil, just a successful corn worshiper. Wow. Okay. Come on, guys. You're making this more difficult than it needs to be. It's already part rubble. Let's just finish the job we started. Oh, God. Thesis just put out the lyrics to, or at least part of it, to Ragnar the Red. I am not going to read them because with my luck I would get copyright struck for them thinking I'm Johnny Cash spoken singing it, because there's no way the tune wouldn't creep in my voice.
Oh.
I know me, this Skyrim song. Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Don't kill the queen, hold her for ransom. They don't care at this point from what I've seen. But yeah, got back. Are we on the attack now? Frankly, the attack is kind of boring. We're on the attack, but it really is, just convincing the commander to just do the job and put them down. Yeah. John Sheridan, nuke them until they glow and shoot them in the dark kind of mentality. And some person, we'll burn our own fort down. That'll show them. Oh, wait. Oh, no. See, I kind of like that. If this didn't have to stay standing, a Defiant letting them take the fort after everybody's got out the secret tunnel, and boom, What'd you do? Turned all the walls into outward-facing claymores? What? The town's still standing. The walls are everywhere, Because launching flammable items into a walled sediment kind of makes the defense have a bad day. Yeah, the only reason the defense has a chance with 5 times superior forces is they have a week of prep, and the guys coming in are doing limited warfare. Mm-hmm. That is the great Deus Ex Machina that is giving them the wiggle room to have 2 days without reinforcements. Because I was looking at this one at first, and I'm like, ew. She's like, well, it looked too easy. I'm like, what's the answer? You bring the pearl into the cove. You turn it sideways. You say, fire. And after you've done that for a while, you say, boys, take a walk. I've watched this movie. You can't not sing Ragnar the Red. So I'll sing Ragnar the Crimson. Oh, God. And now, like, the back of my brain is trying to engage to make way too many Crimson rhymes. Okay. Some person, 5 times, they need at least 15. With the way we're doing it, yeah. You want to take it pretty, you need 15. You want to take it ugly, you need 1 with a big enough bum. That's horrible. But, Sydney, has this helped you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking strictly in terms of how do I say this?
Yeah, sure, you're fine.
A single combat on a large scale.
Right.
And that's why it wasn't working. So yeah, all the ideas of trapping the heck out of the universe on the approach lines.
Yeah.
Because the defenders do have time to prep a bit. And the attackers are limited in their approach to the west side, and Griffin attacks in the north.
And I know you can write because I've read your stuff. She really is amazing, folks. You could write Griffin aerial combat. That's why I wasn't really worried about it all that much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think splitting the deployment of the defenders away from the defended object, like the attackers would expect, is really going to give them the give them the unexpected advantage. It will give them the angles of attack.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had so much fun watching this play out in my mind. We got a couple more comments, and then I'll probably round it up because my hour-long show is barreling towards 2. And in about 10 minutes, I have to take the meds, which I shall not miss. So what we'll do is first we're going to go, Foxy, congrats, you came up. Congrats, you caught up. Achievement! I'm good at single combat or skirmishes. Now, idea: attack them with bureaucracy, parlay with the defense, inform them they are now members of the attacker's country, find them for their shoddy wall, bamboozle them with BS. Oh, I do love that. But it's funny because I love that in reverse too. I'm sorry, you can't dock there. You'll have to pay fees. You know?
Do you have a docking permit?
What'd you do? We flew the plague flag. What? We put up a plague flag. That bought us a few hours. Wait, what? Yeah. Oh, the plague's here. Don't come over. I know you want to invade, but is it really worth it? But nothing wrong with being SCA adjacent. I'm all kinds of adjacent. John Miner, I'm good at melee and line command. Yes, you are. Oh, by the way, John writes technical manuals for companies and does safety stuff. He's done line command in the SCA almost as long as I've been alive. Hey, John, you know that book you're supposed to be writing that you haven't been? Doink, doink. Get writing on it. Shame! Anyway, but, the kill walls were very early on along the breach for good measure. Absolutely. Heck, rigging the breach to be bigger so that the wobbly wall falls outward again. Mm-hmm. Great fun. But, guys, it is nearly 9:55, and I still need to do my outro. So I'm going to see if I can put Cindy on Miracle Grow, and she can tell you about herself.
Hey-o! You can catch up with me online. I have a website at ckoepp.com. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/ckep. On my Patreon, you can find the next installment of the Proxygen Press series. It is the Home for the Manatees. It's going up about one episode every month. I'm also putting a suitable arrangement up one scene at a time, and that is what we're doing this whole Siege demo for. On my webpage, you can get to my store where you will find books that I have written and a comic book and the book that the comic book is based on and some other snazzy books. I'm starting to put my teacher resources up there too. You can also find little sewn critters like this old dude that you can get and customize. I can pretty much do these guys in any color I can find yarn in. And you can catch up with me online on Facebook also. I have a private fan group, and I have my business page and a private profile. So I will catch up with y'all later, and do make sure you tip your host and catch up to the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and Big Stompy Robots.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on, Cindy. This has been an absolute blast. And I will definitely be bugging you when I get used to running Never Mind the Furthermore on my other channel, the Nicholas Talker YouTube channel. That one's real easy. You just go youtube.com/c/Nicholas Talker.
Woo.
So I will be broadcasting for folks who don't know Monday, Wednesday, and Friday there. I will be broadcasting Friday night here and Thursday mornings, unless something changes, with Luke Stone at LukeStoneStudios.com or the Raging 2 Network. She plugged my stuff better than I can, so buy my stuff. If you want to support us, join the Patreon. $1 a month helps me keep the lights on. And other than that, folks, you know what? You know the drill. Keep your guard up. Do your drills. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, thanks for supporting your local sword master. See you both. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks so much. Appreciate your help.
Bye, guys.